Hey guys, it's been a little while. I saw earlier this week my sister Shannon do a nerd tag video on her channel over at Tonks 1989, and I thought that that's perfect for me. So I figured I'd give that a shot, and and so yeah, not much more explanation to it. These are the questions she had on hers. I don't know if you're supposed to change them up or come up with your own questions. I really don't know. I've never done one of these. Well, I've rarely done one of these tag videos, but I'm going to give it a shot because this one just seems like if I'm going to do one, this is the one to do. So, so I'm going to get started. First question is warrior, wizard, or thief? See, that's a tough one because my first instinct is to say wizard because powerful and all that, but growing up in the 90s, my favorite superhero was Gambit from the X-Men, and so I always thought thieves were kind of cool, and growing up again, my brother and I always used to read the Dragonlance books together, and my favorite character in those books was the halfling thief Tasselhoff Burfoot, and so I always thought he was very cool. And so yeah, I think I'd have to go with thief. I'm gonna go thief. I like the sneaky nature. Two is favorite subject in school. That's a tough one. It'd probably be a toss-up between art and English. I love the English language. I love writing. I love creative writing. So that was always a big one for me. But in high school, I would have to say art was probably bigger for me. I used to draw all the time. I had comic book characters, superheroes that I created, and that I one day planned to, make into comic books. I was going to be a comic book artist because I figured out fairly quickly that I was only really good at figures. I couldn't do layouts. I couldn't do backgrounds. I sucked at buildings and everything else, and so I pretty much just drew a lot of big sheets of paper with like a person standing standing in the middle of it, and that was the extent of my art. But I did love it. It was my favorite thing to do. I would every day in high school and junior high I would churn out 2 or 3 drawings that took me hours and hours. So yeah, I have to say art, and then directly after that English. What would be your Patronus? See, I've said a couple times that my Patronus is a TARDIS, just because I'm such a diehard Whovian. But I don't really know. Shannon would know these things better than me. I don't really know the rules when it comes to the wizarding world. What makes your Patronus? Like why a certain animal becomes your Patronus? I don't really know how that works. But just coming up with something. If I can't do the TARDIS. I've always been into vampires and vampire lore. Like I loved the Anne Rice novels growing up. I loved Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I maybe a bat, like a giant freaking bat would be my Patronus, I guess. I can't really think of like what my favorite animal would be. I don't know. I really don't. So yeah, I'm gonna say bat. We're gonna go with bat. Number 3, favorite superhero. That's tough. That is really, really tough. For many years now, it's pretty much been Green Lantern, and believe me, as a fan, I took some really hard hits and and a lot of crap when the movie came out. But to me, the movie doesn't much represent the character. It was very poorly written and directed, so I just going from a comic book standpoint, Green Lantern, and that's just been like the last decade or so. I love Green Lantern. I love his power, the explanation and the source of his power. The fact that it's this technology, this alien technology that was created by the Guardians, but it all depends on him. It doesn't work without him, without his willpower, without his drive to make it work. I mean, the ring chooses the bearer as well. So I mean, if you get chosen by a ring, then you are something special. But yeah, so I always kind of like that, and I just like the I like the power itself, the light being the power, the light of will, and the hard light constructs. I've always thought that was really cool. And they come up with some pretty inventive stuff. I mean, when he first came out in like the 70s, back then it was always like a boxing glove or a fist or something. But they've come up with, since they, brought Hal Jordan back, and maybe even a little before that with Kyle Rayner, they've come up with some really, really inventive things as far as the constructs. So it's always interesting to see what they come up with. Growing up, though, it was always Gambit, and so I'm probably going to take a pretty hard hit with that one here in the next couple of years when the Gambit movie comes out with Channing Tatum. It's hard sometimes to be a nerd, to be passionate about things when people just ruin them for you. But, okay, moving on. Number 5, Marvel or DC? I hate that question. I have always hated that question because my automatic answer is to say, why not both? Why does there have to be the distinction? Why can't you love both equally? And then, throughout the course of my life, it's flip-flopped a few times because, I mean, at this point, I have to separate them by movies and comic books because the last few years, where comic books are concerned, I've been definitely leaning DC because Marvel, for more than a decade now, has just been doing the stupidest crap in their comic books. And I mean, the ending of Civil War and the crap that they've done with Spider-Man, and I kind of, for a while, I just had to go, Marvel, I'm done with you. I don't want anything to do with your comic books. And I stuck with DC mostly because they were still doing good work. And then we've gotten into the modern age of comic book movies, and where movies are concerned and media, Marvel's killing it. I mean, I've said it many, many times, and I doubt my opinion will change anytime soon. DC I don't think will ever be able to catch up to what Marvel has done. What they have done is insane and ballsy, and it has paid off so big. And from the looks of it, it's just going to keep it's just going to keep paying off. And DC, I mean, they've got some good stuff. Their TV shows are awesome. I love Arrow. I love The Flash. I even like Supergirl. I did not expect to like Supergirl, but I do. And I loved Constantine, for whatever that's worth. But as far as movies go, I mean, I loved the Dark Knight trilogy, but that's gone. I really honestly really liked Man of Steel, and I'm very hopeful for Batman vs Superman. It looks really good, and I've seen some of the first footage from Wonder Woman. That looks really good, but it just seems like too little, too late. Like they're so late to the game that they will never catch up to what Marvel has done, because it's the sheer amount of movies that Marvel Studios has churned out in the last 10 years is unthinkable. And quality, awesome movies, and all interlocking and all making sense together in a completely confined universe. I don't see how DC could possibly hope to catch up to and match what they're doing. I mean, especially since I cannot make up my mind on what's going on with Suicide Squad. It looks like it's either going to be incredible or insanely stupid, and I can't tell yet. But so that was a very long, drawn-out answer to that question. So, and I really haven't answered it yet. So, and I should say, adding on to my comments about comic books, whereas I was, like I said, leaning DC the last year or so, now they've started doing really, really stupid crap. I mean, making Commissioner Gordon Batman, and he's in a Iron Man type suit, and taking away Superman's powers. It's just, it seems like all the comic book companies, are determined to just ruin everything that makes them great. So I have a hard time even putting the comic books in this. So based solely on movies, I have to say Marvel, but DC has some awesome characters and past storylines anyway. But so that's the answer to that. I guess for right now, in the overall, Marvel. I'm gonna have to say Marvel. Let's see. Number 6. In what non-sports related way do you stay in shape? I know that my videos are pretty much right here, so you can't really tell, but I don't at all. I'm not in shape. I'm in horrible shape. And I don't really know what this question has to do with the nerd thing. I mean, just because, we're not sports people, I guess. Or maybe they're looking for, I spend 5 hours a day playing DDR. I don't know. But no, I really don't do anything. Back a couple years ago, when I was Bane for Halloween, I spent a couple months leading up to that hitting the gym like 3 or 4 times a week, just working on my arms and chest, just to better fit that costume. But aside from that, no, I don't. I probably should. I definitely should. Actually, my apartment complex has a workout facility. Probably ought to take advantage of that. But no, to answer that question, nothing. I do nothing to stay in shape.